Okay, so now we're going to be talking about gestational age assessment, and let me get the correct file out. And I think most of you got to do a good bit of this in the nursery, right? Or at least everybody got to do it, at least a baby that wasn't a newborn, that we pretended was a newborn, right? So hopefully this will be all review for you, but you do need to know this for the test. So let me kind of guide you through a few examples and that kind of thing. And by the way, you're never going to memorize this table or anything. That's not the point, because I don't have it memorized even. So the point is just to be able to use the table and to understand what it's trying to teach you, okay? So let me give you a couple little preliminary things here. We want to just make sure that we get about this. The book says within 4 hours. We know that in most cases we need it within 2 hours, and the reason is that if your baby is small or large for gestational age, you're going to need a blood sugar at 2 hours of age. Why 2 hours, y'all? Why don't you do a blood sugar as soon as the baby's born? Because what? Because of the mom's glucose. Yeah, the mom's glucose influence would not give you an accurate result. You need to know how this baby's going to do without the mom's glucose, right? So that takes about 2 hours. And at that point, we really need to know how they're doing, especially if they've been very stressed. Now, we do immediate blood sugars if it's because the baby's cold or the baby's seems to be sick in some way. But otherwise, if we're worried about the blood sugar in particular, then it's 2 hours. So that's why gestational age assessment would need to be done within 2 hours in reality. Okay, the gestational age assessment tool has two components. You know, the top and the bottom scales on all those little pictures that we fill out on that sheet that I just passed out to you. One is the physical characteristics and the other is neuromuscular. So that's why it's separated. Optimal accuracy of gestational age takes place within 12 hours of birth. So actually we can do it right away within the first 2 hours, but sometimes we have to repeat it. Because think about a baby who is sort of stressed and sort of stunned by the whole birth process, and then you're trying to do neuromuscular assessment. It's not going to be very accurate sometimes, and you sometimes have to follow up on it and redo it later for it to be accurate. And the same with the physical stuff too, like think about a breech baby. A baby who's really frank breech is not going to do all those movements correctly with his legs. So there's a lot of things that aren't going to be totally accurate sometimes. And that's just a picture of the scale. So neuro and physical. And then the flip side of it is our, what really tells us whether we have SGA, LGA, or AGA, right? Where do we need to fall in here to be AGA? Between the what and the what? The 10th and the 90th percentile. Okay. All right, and then we're going to come back to this. Okay, let's take a look at just some of the basic things that we're going to notice. What I want you to notice, I'm not going to ask you, of course, I'm not going to give you some specific little sign and tell me, how many weeks do you think this baby is. But what I would expect you to start to recognize is whether this sign that I give you tends to be a more mature sign or a more premature sign. Like if I said the baby's soles of his feet were slick and with no creases, what would you think? Premature. Well, if I said that he was totally extended, no flexion, premature. So those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. What if I said his skin is peeling? Term or post-term? Okay, so that's the kind of things I'm talking about. I'm not talking about specifics. You have to have the scale to be specific. But look at these babies. There's a little bit of difference between these two, not a lot. But look at their legs. For one thing, this baby just doesn't have much muscle tone here. But you can see a little bit of difference in, look at the arms, how very flexed they are here compared to this one. So there's a little bit of difference here. That's a little bit of a subtle comparison. But this baby looks more mature than this baby just by looking at posture. Okay, and this is a better comparison of the posture, preemie, term, or close to term, and then post-term probably, or at least term. Because of the legs, see how everything is really, really flexed. What you know about preemies is preemies are unable to flex. They don't have that ability yet. So remember we talked about body temperature and how they can't get in the fetal position and all that. So this is what we're talking about. This is what a preemie looks like. They're not able to protect themselves. For lots of reasons, that's a problem. So that's just posture. This is that square window that everybody loves so much. I don't know why this is the one that bothers everybody, but it is. But just because we can't do it. So this is, which one is the most mature? C, okay? And then this is the scarf sign where you're trying to get them to touch the opposite shoulder. And the more preemie they are, the farther they can go because they don't have any tone. So you can just about wrap a preemie's arm around his neck. You know, he could just do almost anything, and that's why. Okay, I think, all right, then for your physical maturity, it was the skin. And skin, it's mostly about the peeling or cracking is the more mature signs. And the more gelatinous, the more visible the veins are, the less mature, because they don't have enough sub-Q fat yet. You can see the veins, kind of like a road map under their skin. And also with the feet, the wrinkles. Peeling skin. This one is pretty clear over here. You can see that really cracky skin. We've seen some pretty cracky babies this year. And this one almost has that that kind of parchment-like skin. That was one of the descriptions on there. It says parchment-like. You can't really see it very well, but you can almost see that if you touch that skin, it would look like wax paper, kind of, the way it would wrinkle. Lanugo can be a little bit tricky because they don't have much lanugo as preemies, and then they get it, and then they lose it. So when we say no lanugo, we have to know more than that. We need to know some other signs to go with it, because you could say that a baby has no lanugo, and he could either be term, or he could be very, very preemie. It's in that in-between time that he has lanugo. And then remember, sometimes it's about family traits, too. All of these things can be a little bit deceiving in that you look at this hairy baby and you look at the daddy and he's real hairy, too. And you think, oh, maybe this is just a family trait. So, you just have some things, everything with babies, that's the way. Sometimes they just don't look right, and then you look at the family and you go, oh, okay. So same with that. Physical maturity, breast tissue. Remember, the more mature, the more breast tissue, the more fat. We're always talking about fat. Okay? And I don't have a picture of everything, but I just have some of them listed because we've already seen some of them. But ear form and cartilage distribution, that one is going to be talking about the curvature. And when we talk about the curvature, they mean the curvature of the outside curling in. Not that curve, but the curling in of each part of the penia. And the genitals, I think I was thinking I had another picture, but I think that was just on that other assessment. You've already seen a lot of pictures of the genitals and the maturity rates on those. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little scenario here, and I want you to fill in let's do a little bit of practice on this. So be ready with one of the sheets here. You might want to use, just use one of the blanks on this one, and then we're going to use a different sheet for the other two. All right, so I'm going to read the description to you, and you try to fill it out. Fill out your thing. So you're admitting a newborn and performing a gestational age assessment, and the infant weighs 3,000 grams. So go to that side of the paper and put in your 3,000 grams on the graph side. The weight's 3,000 grams. Under the length part, okay? And then, under the weight part. The length is 48 centimeters, and head circumference is 33, sorry. Okay, and then you find the rest of this information on your baby. So turn it back over again. The baby is fully flexed, in a fully flexed position. So put your X or whatever over that picture. 0 degree angle of the wrist. 90 to 100 degree angle on the arm recoil. 90 degrees popliteal angle. The elbow reaches the sternum when extending the arm across the chest. Elbow reaches the sternum. Everybody up with me? Lower leg at 90 degrees angle when flexing the thigh onto the abdomen. 90 degrees. The skin is dry and cracking with no vessels visible through the skin. Oh boy, we got a lot of talking to do to be starting out so bad. The skin is dry and cracking with no vessels visible through the skin. For Lanugo, the baby is mostly bald. The sole creases cover the entire heel. The areola is 4 millimeters. She has stiff ear cartilage, and her clitoris and minora are completely covered. Okay, so add up your top half and then add up your bottom half separately, and then add those two together. What'd you get for the top half? 20? Okay, I got 20. What'd you get for the bottom half? 23. Okay, add those together, you get 43. Anybody lost? Okay, 43. So now we need to put it on the scale over here, because the scale is what makes it work. This is the magic of this whole thing. So the scale is, if you're going to have a score of 43. Your score is 43, not your weeks. So your score is 43. How many weeks would that be? 41. Okay, remember to go to between the two numbers. What if your score had been 39? How many weeks would the baby be? No. 40. Okay, that's what I need you to understand. If the score had been 39, 40, or 41, your weeks would have been 40. Do you see why? How is that different than 40? What if it's 42? So it's 42 between the two numbers. So you've got to go between the two numbers on the right side too. But 41 is so close to 40 that you count it the same. 39, 40, or 41 would still be 40 weeks. Is everybody with me? Yes? Or somebody tell me no if you're not. Okay, Caitlin? Okay. I'll say it again. We'll do more examples too. Go ahead, Caitlin.
What you're saying is the score, if it's way down from the score.
That was a good way to say it, Caitlin. Yes. Okay. So if it's one above or one below that score, then it stays with that score, with that same number of weeks. Does that help? Okay, what if it was 46? The score is 46. How many weeks is the baby? 42. What if it's 37? 37. 39. Is everybody with me now? Okay. I'm probably not going to get that tricky on a test, okay? Because I'm not trying to trick you, but I just want you to understand that's why the scale works. Because I could get 39, 40, or 41, and I still have a 40-weeker. So I could get a second person to come and do through the whole thing with the baby again and get a little bit different opinion on something, because it's very subjective, some of it. And they could come up with a couple of numbers different than mine, and we're still going to end up within at least 1 week of each other. Might not come up with exactly 40 weeks, both of us, but one will be 39, one will be 40 weeks or something, okay? So usually that's what makes this scale kind of work. So now that we know, let's go back to our example. We have 43 was our score, so we decided the baby's 41 weeks, right? So now we flip it over on the back, and we're going to circle that 41 at the top, because that's how we're going to keep our eye on what we're supposed to be doing, 41. Even if I just told you in the scenario that this mother was due today, today was her due date, and she delivered today, you're still going to go with 41, right? Not 40. You're not listening to the OB people, you're listening to the baby people, okay? That's basically how you have to think of it. This is what we actually see on this baby. All right, so now we have 41. Go ahead and plot your numbers on this graph. Okay, got it? So now I need you to be sure that you understand is, this is what I got here, is how do you interpret these percentages, and just make sure you follow the curve and not go straight across. This is really not a good example to show you that, but let's just say for probably the length, if you did the length, let's see, what did we say it was, 48. You kind of estimate what percentage that is. What would you say that percentage is? It's like 27, 28, something like that, right? Because you follow the curve. You don't go straight across to the 25. Let me see if I have no, I don't have a close-up of it. But see here, I don't go straight across from that X to the 25. I follow the curve. Okay, so like if I had a dot right there, an X right here, I wouldn't go straight across to the 25 to say what the percentile is. I would follow the curve and say 50. Okay, always follow the curve. I hope you learned a little bit about this in pediatrics. This is a really important concept, because in pediatrics what you're doing is you're following a child over time. So he might have been born in the 10 percentile when he was born. He was a little kid, and now he's at his 2-week visit, they plot him again. And now at his 2-month visit, they plot him again. At 4 months, they plot him again. And what you want to see happen is that as they plot him over time, he would have, months up here instead of weeks. And each time you would see a new plot. You don't want to see this child just staying. Let's say he just stays the same weight. Well, the weight's down here. But let's say he doesn't lose weight, but he doesn't gain weight. He's getting older, but he didn't gain weight. So he's going to look like he's like maybe on the 90 percentile. Comes back, he's at the same weight, so now he's at the 75 percentile. Comes back later, he's over here, now he's at the 50 percentile. He still weighs the same thing, but he shouldn't, right? He's getting older. So this is what we look for in failure to thrive kids, and that's the biggest thing that you're going to look for, is that the curve is going down on the percentage. He might still be between 10 and 90, but if he started out at the 90 and now he's at the 10 percentile, you need to look at that and make sure that, it's a natural thing that's happening and not something wrong. So some kids just have a lot of catching up to do because they lost weight in utero or whatever, and they will do that, but then they want to make sure their bone growth is keeping up. So is their length keeping up, and is their head keeping up? What's going on with this child? So following these over time is really important. So that's why the curve matters, not the lines when you're interpreting it. All right, everybody got that? Let's do a couple more examples. Let's see, how did I decide we were going to do this one? Let me make sure I got you doing it the right way. I think I had you go to a clean sheet for this one. Let me make sure that we don't mess you up here. Okay, yeah, so go to your clean sheet now. And you do either two colors or either do like X's for one and circles for the other, like a bullseye. So that for this first one, let's do some X's. So that, because we're going to compare these two in the end, okay? So here's your baby number one. We're not going to do the first part, the other side of the sheet. I'm going to tell you what your results were already, what your score is, and you decide how many weeks, okay? We're not going to go through all the physical signs and the neuroscience. But let's just say we came up with a score on the first baby of 42. So how many weeks is that baby? So if your score is 42, 41. Your baby's 41 weeks. All right, so we know when we flip this paper over, we're going to flip it over and circle the 41, right? So flip your paper over and circle your 41, and then let's fill in your measurements. Weight is 2,480 grams, 2,480. Length is 45, and head is 33. 41 weeks, so plot that out. Okay, and now we're going to go to the second baby on that same sheet. Okay. Anybody not ready yet? Okay. So on that same sheet, let's just use another color or either just use circles instead of X's. This baby number 2, his score is 33. So how many weeks is he? His score is 33. 37. Everybody find it? Everybody understands it? Okay. His weight is 2,480 grams. So you're going to turn it over and circle what? 37. Don't get confused and circle 33, because you won't get like 4 questions right on the test. You will mess up all 4 questions if you circle the wrong number. Because I might have several questions on this one scenario, and I've already told you what the score is, so don't let your brain go to 33 weeks. He's 33 score. So weeks are 37, okay? Weight's 2,480, length is 45, and head is 33. All the same measurements that you just did. Just the only thing that's different now is the number of weeks, right? So let's compare our 2 babies. This is what mine looks like. Maybe I need to turn the light off. I don't know if you can see yours if I turn the light off. But, so my baby number 2 is this one. And that's baby number 1 that I gave you. So they're both the same weight. Same weight, same length, same head circumference. Do you see the problem here? Because now this baby was 37 weeks. And so he is, was he LGA, SGA, or AGA? Okay, so he's AGA. This guy weighs the same thing, but he's 41 weeks, so he should weigh more probably. So he's SGA. Okay, so my point is here that you can't just like be in the emergency room, somebody comes in with no prenatal care, delivers a baby, weighs 5 pounds, and you go, oh, this is a preemie. Because you have no idea if this is a preemie until you do this. Just because he weighs 5 pounds. He could just be off the scale. He could be 41 weeks and weigh 5 pounds. He could be like that guy. Okay? Just because he's 5 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever he is, he could still be term and he never gained weight in utero. Okay? Or there's a problem, whatever is going on. So hopefully you're getting the point of this scale. I'm told that they're not even using it in, where was it? You told me Baptist or Lexington, did you say, Heather? You work at Lexington? Okay, they use the weight part, yeah. And that is the most important one. So in other words, if we had an SGA baby, this baby right here, pardon me? For blood sugars? Oh, to decide on blood sugars. Okay, gotcha. So this baby right here could have had this, but everything else could have been up in here. We still would have called him SGA because his weight was low, okay? So we mostly go by the weight, but the rest of it tells us more about long bone growth, and, you know, bone growth is really important because weight can be lost, but bone growth isn't going to be lost. So, you know, once the baby gets a certain femur length, which is the main thing they use, and they use the skull and all that too in the ultrasounds, but it's not going to start shrinking. Your femur is not going to get shorter. It's already grown. So that tells them a lot about when in the pregnancy the baby stopped developing or started losing weight or something. So it helps to determine some of that. So you're right, the weight is the most important one, especially when you're only looking at newborn, if you're not looking at them 3 months from now and all that. Okay, let's do one more, and you could go back to that first page again to do this one. Let's see. So this baby is, the score is 37. So how many weeks is that? The score is 37. Everybody look and see what you think the weeks would be. Okay, 39. Okay. So now let's graph this one on the 39. The weight's 4,100. The length is 53. And the head is 38.5. And they're all, you know, kind of estimates on that graph. You can't be perfect on your graph, but you're getting an estimate, you know, try to figure out where it is. Let me turn the light back on for you. 37 was the score. This is a big baby, isn't it? So there's our scale. And so this is what I got here. So we're going to circle our 39 up there. And he's just off the scale on everything. He looks like a bishop. He's a bishop. Not sure. No, he would be higher than that if he was a bishop, probably. But anyway, it's just gives you an idea. Now, what are you going to say this percentage is on this one, on the weight? You're just going to say greater than 90. You don't have to say exactly what it is. And the same down here, you just say less than 10. That's how you describe it. Now, the other ones, you can give them a number, but these other ones above 90 and less than 10, you can just say what they're greater than or less than, okay? Let me go back to that other one I meant to point out. What percentage is this blue mark right here? What percentage is that, baby? Just an estimate, 23, something like that? All right, what about, how about this one? He's about what? About 50? He is not 25. Okay? So I'm telling you right now what the wrong answers on the test are. All right? So if you can, because this is really important, people definitely have trouble figuring this part out for some reason. You'll say you got it, but just make sure you've got it, because that's such an important concept on this. Okay, so let's see. I think that was it. Do you think you got a pretty good grasp on this now? Okay, what are you smiling about? Okay, you're making me think you up to something. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the gestational age. I think that stuff's kind of fun. Y'all could do a whole test on just that, couldn't you? If all of it was that easy, right? It's kind of like putting a puzzle together or something. It's kind of, well, let me stop this thing first. Okay.